Hey there, what's going on YouTube? So I'm back indoors with another one. For this video's topic, I want to actually talk about something different, but just to pick up from where we left off. When you start doing this video thing, life kind of, and I don't say this to be, you know, like full of myself or egotistic, I guess, but, life becomes like a movie a little bit because, you know, when I first turned on the camera to maybe the third day, and now I'm on the soon to be sixth day, almost the sixth, but actually this might be the sixth recording. This might be the sixth recording. I gotta double check that. But the momentum that sets in, um, and as we get used to anything that we do recurringly, um, the tempo starts to set in, the momentum as we keep this thing going, as we keep these things rolling, as I've decided to um, continue. You know, your story is always playing, your life is always happening. And so, you know, when we go to the theater, we're listening to stories and we're watching the stories, whether they are embellishments, as we see in the realm of celebrity. Sometimes they're just raw stories, right? Most of the stories we hear today are a lot more realistic, they're a lot more raw, but they're still embellishments. But whether they are or they aren't, we're always watching and listening to them. So there's a point where what you're saying and what you're telling, your story, becomes almost like entertainment. Um, well, whether people are entertained or not, again, you know, the watching. And of course, you're watching this now, but while you're watching, people are still watching you. And I've had a little bit more time to think now and kind of synthesize these thoughts a little bit easier, faster. And I'm sure you feel the same if you haven't progressed, if you're, a creative, another painting, another job, another, fixed roof, or whatever your business is an extension of yourself. And, when we extend ourselves, we feel good. We feel good to extend ourselves. Um, we feel good to, make money and extend ourselves in business. But just having, viewership, to say you got, certain amount of views and a viewership, right? Expanding and extending yourself. It almost always feels good, you know. But today I want to talk about actually something um, other than that point. I think I'll revisit that though, right? Because that's another interesting one. I like to build on these in a natural way. So, if I start, on a tangent, I might build on it sometime. But to stay on topic, today I want to talk about why I decided to get into marketing. Um, I guess a little bit of background information, things that come to mind, uh, that come to light as well in my mind about, why I started, um, in the field of helping people in their businesses, uh, and why I decided to focus on that rather than you know other things that I guess would have been available to me. Um, but for me, and I'll jump right in. It goes back to really my parents. Uh, Shout out to my mom. On my mother's side, I didn't really understand what advertising was. It was just something that I knew. Uh, my mother did. But as I got older, eventually, of course, learned what it was, and television, television in its peak um, was such a big lay on the world, but where we are right now, a testament to the change that keeps happening and that keeps happening in the world. After a certain amount of time, I realized that this industry was riddled with change, you know. Um, and interestingly enough, she's still in that industry now, but the world, the internet is where everything is taking place, and it's where everything has been taking place. You know, I really learned a lot about how to start a business when I was young because I wanted to know the nuances of how things worked. But when I would talk to people, they would often tell me how complicated things were and that um, I should read, and they pointed to particular books that some of which I would have to recall, but I probably write those in the description. There's one that comes to mind that was a really good one, and it spoke about value proposition. What I really want to focus on and talk about, though, is my experience and my upbringing and how I felt as a way, as a pathology to why I started working in the realm of helping people communicate the messages and ideas in their business. And I think for me, watching one of my parents work in this field was a big inspiration and help as like a template for what subjects and types of work and maybe some of the even rhetoric that was tied to what I'm doing now. Consultant and advisor for the clients that I work with now, and clients in the past, you know, and in relation to a company that I started called United Iconics that I'll also link in the description so you guys could check out. The reason this means so much to me is because I felt that, um, you know, when I learned eventually that the real focus wasn't so much what people needed to do or what I needed to do, but more of the relationship with the person and the relationship being the pinnacle of what brought progress and advancement to the situation as far as me expanding what I wanted to do to help more people to make money, to see this person's business grow for themselves, wanting to see themselves maybe change lifestyle or just improve upon what it is that they're doing. All the great techniques and all of the challenging problems were what was most important. And I learned a lot from that angle. But once I started to incorporate my real life experiences with friends and family that dealt with their businesses and their wants and desires to be more deeply involved um, in work that didn't involve their day to day job. Basically, their onboarding to entrepreneurship or their expansion, I really see it as the same thing. But I guess that's another, maybe smaller conversation. But I'll say this to be brief that they're both a step in the same direction. So, but getting back to why I started. You know, the first few times that I tried to work with people, it was extremely difficult. You know, the communication factor, again, the people factor of trying to figure out where a person is in their life, what they're interested in discussing, and what they actually might need from me or, from their clients and their customers, and just mapping out that world of business. Um, some of the things that I learned when I was younger, and this particular book, I'll write in the description below. It comes to mind. Um, and I don't really talk about, I don't really go too heavy on business here. My plan isn't to, go heavy on that subject, but just to explain why I started. You know, your milestones can sometimes be overlooked by, our own, can be overlooked by our own mind and by our own perspective. So my effort is to, fix that and speaking openly about, my journey and a positive reflection. And, it's something I've done with myself personally, but I feel like, again, the projection outward just makes it a little bit more impactful and hopefully, carries over well for, for our conversations here. But for you and value, maybe this is something that you're thinking about. And, I just want to kind of highlight that and give it, the proper attention because we know attention is so important. The first few sessions, and relationships that I built on were not the easiest. Not all the relationships that I built in my business so far, have been, uh, the easiest. Um, or rather, not all the relationships that I've built in my business thus far have lasted for the entirety, right? But there's always been value. For me, the responsibility of carrying, what my personal obligations were as far as, what I had to do and my extension outward to the people that I work with and, you know, their reciprocation of that relation, that effort and the relationship and how to do that with professional style and poise, you know, um, as the younger version of myself. Uh, I really think just added to, what you're seeing today and really something that kind of sharpened my skills for me to have all my bases covered when I got to, the point where I was able to sustain with much more likelihood and clarity. That really happened, when I started actually working in a team and stopped working alone. Uh, there were so many things that I had to do by myself, you know, but I really reached a milestone, when I was able to split tasks and, really focus on things while still delegating a little. And, that really carried me into a place of focus and readiness for, again, what you guys are seeing, in my personhood today, in my life is, I'm living it. The challenges still come in, the challenges still are there, and, as I accomplish one thing, there's another thing to there's another thing to fix or do. But, this being a part of it is something that I've learned to embrace. It's not always fun, to be honest, but it's something I've definitely embraced. And the challenges are not always, riddled with mystery. Um, and oftentimes, when I'm working with people's businesses, I'm splitting apart two lines of information between how to deal with the person and what they may need in their own life in terms of our communication and our relationship. Because I realized each person, you know, really has their own view of the world, what their business is standing for, their, value is in that too. But their business may need something that speaks to a different tune, and getting that person to understand that, you know, it really can be separate but understood and progressed from that point. My rough start really became an investment for me that I didn't want to let go of, because I saw myself being able to do great things with helping people and seeing myself expand, just to do that more, to simply do that more and more. I found myself more deeply invested in seeing the person progress through their leadership journey, because I realized that that was the next phase that I guess was holding back some of the clients. That phase of leadership, what I had learned personally in assembling a team to kind of help me in my endeavors, was kind of the same feat that you know, that people I was working with needed to really have, and that was the that really was the next step into the other phase of leadership, where you can focus more on splitting out your your obligations and having your roles for, you know each specialization, if you will, laid out so that you can continue and scale your way through, um, and into whatever, to scale your way through into whatever goal, you know that was set. Yeah. So, some ideas about why I started, and my work a little bit. Um, I really made this channel to trend to really made this channel to trend more towards, life, and things that were meaningful to me. And while I don't want to, while I didn't want to double down, I don't want to double down on work in that way. I just wanted to share more on me, and you know, I don't really want to leave any subject. I don't want to really leave any particular subject untapped that I feel, has a weight on me in terms of its interest, its value. Um, and again, maybe your thoughts on this, if you have any, and if you have a similar experience or experiences. Um, and even here, I think, I see it more like in a spiritual way again. Even here, I see it more, in a yeah. you know, because it was really about the people. It was really about my memories of, you know, how I saw things, how I saw work being conducted growing up. And, you know, I I decided to work, I decided to work in this field as I decided to work in this field as a freelancer instead of, going to, I guess, the corporate world. And there was reason for that too, but it's not so much the reason why I got into the field. Um, it might be a different video, but you know, as far as that, I'll just say, you know, it's definitely tied to it's definitely tied to my experiences as a younger man, much younger, and really my understanding of money and how important time really was. You know, but again, that probably would be a separate conversation, and I think that's a spark there. But definitely related. So I think we'll use this as a starter and pick up from this conversation right here on why I actually decided to start outside of the realm of a large institutional uh, agency, but the choice to start my own, the choice to just be a little different, um, which was part of the reason for my challenges as well. But in the end, I realized I could have had those same challenges very well getting help from large institution, but or any business, but um, really just focusing on what my history was and why it was, you know. And I'll say another thing about um, when I first started to, I guess, gather my interest and understanding that I wanted to help people with the businesses that they had or the businesses that they wanted to run and wanted to start. A lot of times there was pushback and foreseen, I guess, criticism. A lot of times I received pushback that, you know, the ideas of building and the ideas of foundation that you would have around, starting a business or just like maintaining, um, you know, something like that. A lot of times that can be seen as criticism, unfortunately. And that's surely what happened to me. And it wasn't always, this isn't an absolute sort of thing, but it definitely spoke to, some of the pitfalls as well, right? Um, Sort of the misalignment of perspectives when the person just sees the world different than the way you're seeing it. Because in those moments, it's not about right or wrong, you know. In those moments, you still lose. I still lost in those moments because, and sometimes there's nothing you can do. Sometimes there's absolutely nothing you can do to make a person see what you see, but you really have to understand. Um, and oftentimes, I realize there's even reconciliation with those misalignments where someone really feels that, you know, they're correct on the matter of an issue, but may in fact learn that maybe they were incorrect there is often reconciliation to do business in the future, right? As long as that relationship is, maintained or respected, um, there is a sense that a coming togetherness and the understanding of the common goal of progress. Um, Sometimes the individual is right, the business is right, in their attempts or rejection of an idea or an action, and you know we can lose in that way. You know, I don't recall losing in that way, but I'm sure I have. I'm sure I have, because there's so many lessons to be learned. There were so many that I've learned. Um, I can't recall everything right now, just running off the top of my head, but you know, there's definitely some things that I remember feeling that were pivotal to my steps forward. You know, and today I just wanted to focus on why. You know, why I'm in that sort of work, and I already told you guys why I started YouTube. So maybe we'll make this the why series. All the whys. Why you guys do what you do. You know, I wanted to help people. I wanted to, in that way of, you know, making money on their own, hopefully. Um, Meaning, you know, having their own business, man, having some control of some of the things that are going on that we usually don't as employees, if you were ever that or experienced, um, being in different positions that you may or may not liked, but focusing on the ones that we didn't, and the solution, for everyone, for anyone, and that was leaning into an alternative route, and that involved good marketing period. You know, um, yeah, marketing period, and the people that worked with us, the people that worked with myself, they did well, and we're still pushing today. And yeah, I just want to make this, I wanted to make this video just as a testament to the consistency that we're gonna keep giving you guys, and really just the introspection and the mindfulness that we're gonna be bringing. We're gonna still keep stacking on the vow of silence videos, and I really been thinking about something too, related to the vow of silence bit, and that is recording maybe like a day, like vlog a day of just going silent. What do you guys think about that? Um, but I'm gonna have that conversation a little bit more internally, and decide internally if we actually want to take that step. That could be a lot, just a day, and just an hour, like I said before. But we're gonna figure out something that you know we could really display but feel. You know. So I think that's about it. I think I'm gonna expand on this, but we're gonna talk about why I decided to start a business next video. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back with you guys soon.